Fight!
What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 7 of season 5 of the MKAU podcast. As normal, we have got Sub-Zero back again, our fearless leader. We have Melican back again. Brashy has made another appearance, and Ash is back for his 3rd or 4th podcast now, I think. How are we all?
Like that. Yeah. Good.
Very good.
Pretty good.
The way. What have we all been playing? I'll start with you, Ash.
I've actually been playing a lot this month. Let's see. I've played A Short Hike, Arcade Paradise, Figment 2, Durgoni, Gris, Venba, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, Day of the Tentacle Remastered, and Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition.
Yeah, nice. So you've been very busy.
What's that first one?
A Short
Very
Hike.
first one, A Short Hike.
Did you play that purely for the fact it's an easy achievement game?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it takes you like half an hour to finish the game or something, and it's really easy to get 100% achievements on it.
The game itself, yes, you could definitely finish in as little as 30 minutes. But to get the achievements, yeah, it's about a 2-hour, 3-hour time frame, approximately.
Are these all Game Pass games?
Yes, they are.
There you go. Join Game Pass if you haven't. What have you been playing, Brashy?
I had a couple of review games. I had to review Vlad Circus, and I'm reviewing one right now. Which I can't mention yet, I don't believe. Other than that, it's just been Baldur's Gate, League of Legends, and Resident Evil 4. I picked that up on because PlayStation's got it free at the moment, so I've been playing.
Did they add something to RE4?
Yeah, it's just a remake. Oh, not remake it. Like old. Actually, yeah, no. Was it a remake or yeah?
I was watching someone stream it, and there's grappling in it now. Has that always been in it? Or is that not RE? Looked like Resident Evil.
I mean, you do get grappled. You get grappled, and you have to like fight them off and jam a knife into their necks. So, but yeah, I haven't gotten too far into the new remake because I've been trying to play all the Resident Evil remakes. So I'm doing 4 now at the moment.
I've been trying to avoid touching Baldur's Gate because I know for a fact I'll start playing and I won't put it down.
Well, I'm already like over 200 hours.
Yeah.
Did you play Diablo?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I've just been hearing a lot of people that they've pretty much switched to Baldur's Gate and they haven't put it down.
Well, it's funny enough. I got asked from someone earlier if I've been playing much Diablo 4. I was like, probably not as much as I really want to. It seems to be like it seems to be a reoccurring thing with games now. Is that it comes out and you've got that initial week where everyone plays it, and then it sort of becomes irrelevant the next week. A bit like Mortal Kombat, for instance. Everyone was playing that when it first came out, but you don't see anyone posting about it now on socials. Which
I heard that.
You go.
I was just going to say, I heard that Diablo 4, like a lot of the people that were playing a lot of sort of Diablo 3 that were using it as content creation have gone back to Diablo 3 because Diablo 4 wasn't cutting the mustard with content.
Yeah. Diablo 3 was a hard game to beat. But anyway, what have you been playing, Mel?
To be honest, not a huge amount. I played a little bit of Starfield. I actually went on a little trip down to Adelaide, so I took the ROG Ally with me down to Adelaide and played a bit of Starfield on the plane. So that was entertaining. And then recently I've played Sigil of the Magi for review. But other than that, sort of since handing back the Ally and since playing Sigil of the Magi, I've sort of just sat at my computer watching YouTube. Really, nothing overly exciting.
I've heard you're the next Tiger Woods of Dungeon Golf.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You can talk to Chibi about that one.
What have you been playing, Subby?
Mostly just I played a bit of MK when it came out, like you just said. I haven't really gone back to it, but that's just because I've had no time. Mostly, nearly gone through all the invasion stuff. I want to try to get it finished before the season ends because it changes every season. But I haven't started the story yet. Otherwise, hey.
Would you say it's a big improvement from the last Mortal Kombat game?
It's much the same. I mean, they've taken a lot of they've taken out stage interactions, which I kind of miss. They've got cameos now as their newest little gimmick kind of thing, but it actually works quite well. I'd imagine some of the cameos that are only cameos might get full characters, playable characters later on, but I'll see. But yeah, no, it's okay. Much the same. Just sort of take a little bit out, put a little bit new into it.
Yep.
Other than that, we dipped into Payday 3 a little bit when it came out. I probably wouldn't mind getting back into that and finishing off all the last lot of maps and then going through them stealth, but haven't had time. Otherwise, a little bit of Siege is generally what I usually play.
Yeah, nice.
Ooh, I've just gone dark. Sorry, bear with me while I fix that.
Well,
Here we go.
I like your backlights.
Yeah, they're very bright.
Looks like the Popo in town.
I could make them flash. I just
Malakan's going to start doing 5M streams as a cop. Have his lights flashing in the back. Well, I've been playing a bit of Party Animals, which is just being put on Game Pass. That game is a lot of fun.
Everyone's playing it.
It feels like a mix between Gang Beasts and
Fall Guys.
Yeah. It's just it's everything in it's like that's stupid and doesn't work properly, but it's that funny that it's like it's been designed to be that way, and like you can literally jump in the air and fly kick people's heads and knock them out. Like it's good fun. And I've just finished a review on Forza, and
Forza Motorsport,
which I was very hyped to do. Apart from that, I've literally just been playing review games. Played a little bit of Payday, a little bit of R6, but sinking some hours into the reviews, which is good. So there's been a fair bit of gaming news recently. Sony has definitely been at the forefront of that. Ash was telling me just before a little bit of Microsoft news, and then, but obviously Sony's major one at the moment is there's we'll say, alleged data attack on the company. There has been one hacking group come out, have said they have done it, and they're pretty much saying they either want Sony to pay them out or they're just going to sell the data off. Sony actually hasn't confirmed what data has been taken. But what do you all sort of think about that? Like that, them being sort of at the forefront of a hacking thing again in 2023.
I'd say it's all bullshit. Well, because the one group came out and like, we stole a whole bunch of shit, and then like another group's come along and said, no, you didn't, we did, and then no one's been able to like clarify that. But I think they're more trying to just distract Sony because they don't want another 2011.
That's what I said. What I said before this was like, how does this keep happening to Sony?
Yeah.
Like, how have they not learned from the first major breach?
Well, it is a little bit different though from 2011 because it was customer information that was stolen. Where this time around, it seems to be like actual data.
All they said is data, but that data could be your email, your phone number, it could be anything. But like
they said they took 250 gigabytes of stuff, and then but Sony's been like, nah, not nothing like that's been.
Regardless what it was, my point is, have they not put enough in place to stop it from last time? Like, have they done enough?
That's why I'm find it hard to believe that anything's actually happened. I think it's just people are just trying to mess with Sony because like the second group that came out, is the one that's named after that old Xbox CEO.
Major Nelson.
Major Nelson.
That's not. I think it's just a whole bunch of bullshit.
Hey, what do we call ourselves?
No, but that's sort of one of the questions I sort of want to lead with the subject, though. It's 2023. 99% of the world is online. Everything's online now. You've got accounts everywhere. We're online right now. Should companies like Sony and Microsoft and Amazon, whatever, should they have that sort of high-level security and updating level security that someone like this could come out and say, oh, we've just stolen 250 gig of your data, and they can turn and say, well, you haven't, because this hasn't been breached or this hasn't happened, or...
I mean, they should be confident enough to say that, but they're not going to.
Well, that's the thing. Who was it? Someone already said that because that they didn't. They're like, no, you haven't. Because they said, oh, you got 250 gigabytes, and they're like, no. Who was it? I'm trying to find out who it was.
It's just, I don't know. I think about it now, and like, a company that size should have that level of security. Being 2023, they know what people can do on computers, and like we said before, you're never gonna beat a hacker. Hackers are evolving all the time. They can do new things and try new things, but like you'd think, like a company like Sony would have a security team that are constantly updating their firewall, constantly closing back doors and stuff into their system. So then, like Subby said, they can confidently turn around and say, no, like, you haven't done that. We can tell you for a fact you haven't done that. So you can sort of go and jam the money you want where the sun doesn't shine.
So what was this whole proof that someone...
So conducting its own investigations into the claims, bleeping computer reports that Ransom VC contacted it to boast having stolen as much as a more sizable 260 gigabytes of Sony's data. A security website which has strong reputation in this field didn't find evidence of a breach of that size.
What proof do they apparently have, though? Didn't you?
No, apparently ransomware have posted a proof to Sony that they have them, because Sony turned around and said, we're not paying the money that you guys want, and they're threatening to sell the said data. But
yeah, actually, I think they're calling the bluff.
Maybe.
Because
it'd be interesting to see.
If it was important stuff, Sony would have to do something instead of just saying, nah, we're not paying you.
It's going to look bad now if they say, no, you haven't, and then later on they like, got to come clean, everyone. They kind of did.
But
that's going to be even worse.
Like, seeing this stuff now, like, everyone saw how quickly that news blew up. As soon as it was online, it absolutely went ballistic and everyone was sharing it. Is that something where you think people might look at PlayStation, obviously being owned by Sony, they're going to look at that and like, oh, do I want to make an account with that if my data is going to get stolen at some stage, or threatened to get stolen, or allegedly stolen? Like, do you think that might turn people away from actually wanting to be affiliated with Sony?
I think this day and age, you're not going to get that sort of response from people, because everyone pretty much has a digital presence of some description.
Yeah, you can't sort of single out them, because you're going to get that question everywhere you go.
Yeah, well, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, I think the worst case is that they're just trying to tarnish a bit of PlayStation's reputation or Sony's reputation by saying that, oh yeah, we can hack you guys. But
I mean, it happens everywhere. Like I said, it's inevitable. Hackers are always going to be out there. They're always going to be looking for that money. They're always going to be looking for that scare tactic. And unfortunately, with social media, like I said, things blow up very quickly. So they add that scare tactic in. Like, not so much these days, but your media presence with like 7 News and Win News and all that. As soon as they've got a little piece of news, they can blow it up and give it to the audience in a misinterpreted way and use that as a scare tactic in a way. Which these guys might have done that.
Even with the media, if they did sort of make it seem like a scary thing, ultimately people are going to make a decision whether they want to or not. But ultimately, the hackers are always still going to be there. Most people are going to want to be, online, whether it's with Sony or whatever. I mean, yeah, unless you really want to unplug from everything, you're going to have your information out there somewhere. So,
it's always going to be
all of us talking at once.
Put your hand up if you want to talk.
Rashi, you can go first, mate.
Oh, I was going to say, as it's always going to be a risk. No matter what, whoever you game with now online or anything like that, it's always going to be a risk. But it's just a matter of is the risk worth it? Most of the time, it's because I don't know. I've been online for how many years now, and nothing's ever like I've got a Latitude account, and when that got hacked and all those like hundreds of thousands of people's things got there, nothing happened to me.
Not yet.
So I live with shit happens. If I get hacked, I get hacked.
But I mean,
they're gonna get my bank account and get nothing.
Well, that's the thing. You can be smart. You can be smart how you do it though. Like I've got a PlayStation account and Nintendo, Xbox, so on and so forth. All of those, I've literally got them linked up to an account that has no money in it. If I want to buy something, I transfer the money to the account and buy it.
I do the same thing. I have all my money elsewhere.
Yeah, I've got my money in a different account, and then if I want to buy something, I transfer it across, buy it, and then it's back down to zero. So, the worst they're going to do is get a decline because there's no funds in the account. Like I suppose it comes in with all your two-factor authentication and everything these days as well. But
yeah, like most of mine, like if you make any purchases on like my card, especially if it's like on a mobile device or even on the computer, you need like the facial recognition or like my fingerprint.
Or you need a text message and tell your phone that you got to put a code in and all this other stuff. Like that, I think stealing your bank details is a little bit harder these days, but I'm sure there's a way around it. But still talking.
Keep going. Sorry.
No, you go.
I was saying, generally now, like the banks are on it too. Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know mine is like as soon as I buy like a couple of things, like I'm playing like this One Piece mobile game at the moment, and every now and then I buy a few things, and every now and then I get zealous and buy a heap of things, and then straight away they're like, "Hey, I think someone's hacked your bank account." I'm like, "No, sorry, it's just me. It's just me buying dumb shit." So
just me buying $200 worth of coins.
Yeah, exactly. But like they'll close it straight away.
Yeah, they lock it down pretty quick. Mine does as well. If it looks really odd, like out of place, I'll just like put a freeze on it.
And then I have to ring up like, I was just buying stuff for my mobile game. But
no worries, nerd. We'll unlock it for you.
That's it.
Keeping on the topic of Sony, obviously the CEO has announced he is retiring. He's been working with the company now for 30 years. Started over with Sony Interactive, and he's sort of worked his way up. The funny part about all that was that he still lives. Like I said, he started in Europe with Sony in Europe, become the CEO, so he's still living in Europe but working remotely and working in the United States somewhere. Do you think you guys could do that? Like, if you not necessarily living in Europe, but could you work a job in the US and live in Australia?
Yes. Easy.
I mean, what can't you do remotely now? That's the thing. We've become so used to it.
I'm
sure he still travels occasionally, right? He would have to.
Oh,
It's a job you probably don't need to be
there so much for.
Yeah. Do it though.
I think the only issue would be the time difference.
Yeah.
That'll be the killer.
But you're getting paid the big bucks. Wrong, you deal with the time difference.
Well, that's it. But yeah, because if anything goes wrong, it's going to be like early and like either late at night or early in the morning.
I mean, if you're CEO of Sony, you'd be on a few dollars. I don't think I'd care too much if I had to get up at 1 a.m. to fix some catastrophic disaster.
Yeah.
Such as everyone's accounts being hacked.
Yeah. Such as everyone's data leak. Do you think that I know we've just been talking about Sony data leak, but do you think Sony's moving in a good direction as they are now, or do you think the new CEO might freshen things up a little bit and change what they're doing? Like, you can see Microsoft at the moment is just eating up game developers. Well, not eating up's probably the wrong word, but buying all these game developers and pretty much making their already big company into this mega company. Do you think having someone fresh in Sony may bring them to start doing that and, I don't know, put a bit of a fight up, I guess?
So who's the new guy? What did he do?
I'll say the new guy's on interim. It's Torioki. Torioki, his name is. But but he's the
Hiratoa or something. Yeah,
Hirakai Celtic Cookie or something.
Just butcher it completely.
Yeah,
It's absolutely. He's the interim.
Yeah,
he's starting in the 1st of April next year, so we've still got the same CEO until April next year.
Okay.
But
But he's only interim until they obviously advertise and find someone new. And honestly, I think it's really going to boil down to who they actually put in there as opposed to with their actual background. Like they turn around and get someone and put them in the position that's had a background, say, in microtransactions, then you'll probably see that there will be more of a shift in that. So,
well, because the new guy, the interim guy, he's already the COO and the CFO of Sony Group Corporation.
Yeah.
So
he's been working closely with Jim anyway. So I don't think you're going to notice much of a difference in regards to him being in that position. But if he doesn't stay there and they actually employ someone new, then I'd be probably more inclined to look at what background they've got. And then you'd probably have a bit more of an idea of maybe the direction Sony will maybe gravitate towards.
Yeah, you put a CFO in there, you know what they're focusing on.
Yeah. Money.
Yeah, 100%.
The thing is, like, he's not coming in until next month? Next year.
Yeah, well, he's starting April next year. He starts. So I mean,
by that time they might already have found someone.
Being the CEO with 30 years down your sleeve, there, so you can't just give 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah, so like even by the time it comes around to Hiroki moving in there, he might not be in there for that long. We might get some more news on who will actually take his place.
Yeah, it'd be a good question to revisit once we know who it is.
Yeah.
We don't, like Ash said, that's what I think. It depends what he's doing before. Get an idea on what his focus might be.
Hopefully, it leans more towards what they did with Larian kind of ways.
Yeah.
That'd
be nice.
There'd definitely be something interesting to sort of keep tabs on what they're doing, and like Subby said, revisit it once it's all sort of been finalized.
The job to Larry.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe you should apply for it, Subby.
I'd love to. Yeah. Sort him out.
Sub02K, the new CEO of Sony.
First order of business, buy Xbox.
First order of business, get bought out by Xbox.
No. Sell up. Sell up and get my payout.
And work there for a whole week, lose all the money.
So does anyone actually have like an idea of maybe who they would like to see go into that position?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Maybe
neither do I. I've just
someone who listens to gamers themselves would be a good start. I know. I don't know. It'd be good just to shift. I don't know. They just don't seem to always be doing the right thing.
Plot twist, Major Nelson is actually probably one of the hackers, and he's using the data against him to become the next CEO.
I think he's gone to Apple.
You've been listening to my conspiracies.
Yeah.
I think Larry's gone to Apple.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pretty sure.
Larry's gone to Apple.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. He keeps hinting at Apple that he's at Apple with all his tweets and stuff.
Up Apple. Maybe Apple will buy Microsoft one day, or the other way around. Talking about obviously gaming and companies and whatnot. Obviously, PAX Oz is next weekend, I believe.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Believe Mel and Subby are heading down for it.
Yes.
Indeed, we are.
Do you obviously we're not heading down this year, but I was down there last year. Obviously, last year was the first year coming out of all the COVID mix-up, and it wasn't as big as a convention. Well, from what everyone else was telling me, it was my first ever one.
Oh, really?
That was last year was my first PAX. I'll go again next year. I'm going to go every second year. Do you think, like I've sort of seen a bit of the lineup and what obviously you've posted on MKAU's website with news. Do you think this year's going to be bigger and better, and maybe even more attendance than last year?
Yes. So they're not all the big publishers are still there like they usually are. So last year was pretty quiet. It was big. Everyone wanted to get back to conventions. So a lot attended, but yeah, you had all the majors missing, like Nintendo, PlayStation. It's like all the publishers that would have had their own booth or space, it wasn't there. They just sort of threw their games in other booths or other areas, like the Alienware booth might have had Payday 3 showing, or like they kind of just slipped their game into other areas. This year, I believe Nintendo are back. I don't know if Sony, PlayStation have their own space. I don't think they do, but they're a start. It's a start. So it's slowly becoming the packs that we are used to going to, but it's going to take a couple of packs
to get back notable. Yeah.
It's getting there,
I did see something about Atari doing their new console at PAX this year.
Yeah,
is that something you're going to be all over?
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. PlayOn for the first time since its announcement. They're showing it in person at PAX. I don't know where. I'm guessing PlayOn might have their own booth by the sounds of it. I didn't see it on the map, but I'm not sure. But yeah, they're the new PlayStation, not PlayStation, Atari 2600 Plus, whatever it is, will be there. I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, I'll get one just for the fact it's an Atari. Cool, they're bringing it back.
Well, there's some places like devs and stuff making new games on Atari cartridges for this thing.
Oh, so the console's actually going to take cartridges.
You can put your existing Atari cartridges into it, I'm pretty sure, and new games will be made for the console.
I guess I've got to go break the old box out of the shed and get some cartridges out.
Yeah, so I believe you can literally whack your Atari cartridges in this thing.
It'll be surprising to see how many of your cartridges have survived in the shed, because the pins will be all nice and rusty.
It's all right. They're easy to clean though. That's the beauty of those cartridges.
When I put them in the box, I glad wrapped them and I wrapped them up in glad wrap. So I'm hoping they're not rusty, but
yeah, I don't have many left. I think I've got like Double Dragon, Ghostbusters. I've got a couple of cartridges.
I've got a couple in there, and obviously all my old PlayStation games and everything. But it'd be do you think Sony and Microsoft will make more of a presence next year, or?
I'm hoping that's where it's going back to. Yeah, I mean, so I didn't realize that was your first one last year. I don't know whether you told us that or not, but yeah, previous ones they had massive floor space.
Mm-hmm.
Like massive floor space.
Obviously, last year I think there was the Final Fantasy. I think Final Fantasy, the new one, had just come out, and they had like a massive setup for that, and then obviously Alienware and a couple of other bigger companies. But like you said, Xbox I think had Alone in the Dark. I think they had a play of that, but it was like linked in with
they were just throwing their games in other booth spaces pretty much. They didn't have their own dedicated area.
Funnily enough, though, I found myself spending more time. Don't get me wrong, I spent a fair bit of time at the other end, but I sort of spent most of my time up the front in the indie games. I preferred a lot of the indie games.
Yeah, it's always a big thing with PAX. PAX is more so about the indie side of things and the like the hardware portion too, like accessories and things. So, and then it's kind of games as well. So it's indie, and the hardware side of things is more of a PAX. Bring your own computers and retro old school stuff. That kind of stuff sort of first and foremost.
I was still so confused from last year that you'd had the people that go to PAX and they'd line up to go and play computer games at PAX, like on the actual computer stations, and play like League of Legends or whatever they were playing. I was like, you can do that at home. Go to the other station.
You should have been to some of the, like Mel would know, or anyone else that would have went to the older, the previous PAXs. But the BYO sections were twice the size of what you would have saw back then. Mm. People would bring their machines, so they would have their own security and stuff. So because people were bringing their own computers in, the security would be there 24/7.
Yeah, I don't get that. You can play in your own computer at home. Like you can't. There's that much hardware and simulators. Or last year anyway, there was enough there that kept me busy, like looking at all your different simulators and different hardware and PC setups and everything that people were running there, without I didn't feel a need to go and say, "Oh, I'm going to bring my computer in and play League of Legends next to someone else."
It's a big thing, man. People will go
Have
to
you
PAX
never-
just to bring in their PCs and do the BYOs.
Have you never done a LAN party, Whippy?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love LAN parties. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not when I'm flying down to Melbourne to go to a gaming convention. I don't know. That's just me though. That's like personal preference for me. And obviously,
I agree. I don't see the point in.
Oh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
There's
do it either,
there's rest point, like the rest points and stuff like that. Where like I understand those ones where they have those like little restrooms where you can go in there and just like when you used to go in there with the Game Boys, you used to go in there and
chill
play
out
Pokemon
on
with the Game Boys.
chill out on a beanbag with your Switch.
Yeah. I understand that. That's all good. Yeah, but unless they're going to do a competition or something, I don't see. Or it's a new game or something like that they want people to test out.
I mean, they probably have stuff organized, but I don't get involved.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would imagine. I'd imagine
there'd be some
they've got
benefit
something.
of doing it.
Yeah, there'll be something more involved in it than just PAX. Take my computer in. There'll be something planned. You can't have like 500 people go into this one little space and not have nothing organized.
They'd probably have a whole heap of things like best PC or best looking PC and whoever wins this competition game and whatnot.
Not sure. But yeah, to answer your question, I think PAX will get there eventually again. Just give it a couple more and she'll be back to normal.
It's good seeing, like, I've sort of before the podcast had a bit of a look of who sort of announced that they're going now. And you see a lot of, like, you still see Alienware and Aftershock and all that, like the bigger companies. But you're starting to see a lot smaller companies coming up through as well and displaying their stuff, which is good for, like you said, your indie developers and all your smaller companies trying to make a name for themselves. Especially in somewhere like PAX, like that's a big convention.
It's pretty much the only thing that we have in Australia where they can sort of do that to the general population anyway, because like you look at America, for example. Now, don't get me wrong, America's huge. Their population significantly higher than ours. So, they've got PAX West, they've got PAX East, they've got all that stuff. They've got multiple things like that throughout the year, whereas we have Supernova and Comic-Con, which in my experience are more like nerdy Sunday markets.
Pretty much, yeah.
You pay a lot of money to go into.
Yeah.
But then PAX, yeah, okay, you still pay a lot of money to go into it, but it is obviously designed for, showcasing what's coming out. And with it being the only time that we really have in Australia where that sort of thing happens, I think that's why we are seeing more and more people, like smaller companies, jumping on board with that, because they are wanting to get their name out there. Like you've got thousands of people walking through the door every day. And, everyone at some point is going to see your brand. They're going to see your stuff. And then on the Sunday, when you don't want to pack everything up and you start throwing it out to the audience, of course, you're going to get everybody there going, I want.
Yeah,
even though they've never heard of it.
That's what I sort of noticed, like the last year, like everyone was walking around getting all the freebies and your pins and all that sort of thing, like on the last day. Because I honestly went down there, I was like, 3 days to walk around a gaming convention is probably a bit overkill. Like I might spend one day.
They could do it for a week. There's panels. There's hardware for booths for hardware, games, indie games, AAA games.
But as someone that's never gone before, you're sort of looking like 3 days walking around a convention hall. Like there won't be that. Like there's lots to look at, but there won't be enough for 3 days worth of stuff. But like
you won't get to everything in 3 days.
Exactly. Like I was sort of thinking like last year, I was like, I could have easily used another 2 days here to go through everything properly. And like I saw everything I more or less wanted to see, but there was still more stuff I sort of wanted to look at and look further into. But time's time, I guess.
Like you could go to PAX just to want to play games and you'd be happy. You can go to PAX just to like sit down, watch some panels, learn some things, get some insight on the industry, and you're done. You could go to PAX to chill out with friends in the chill out zone, play Switch. You don't even. There's so much you can do in 3 days. You'd be happy with. But to hop it all in 3 days is a lot going on.
Yeah. No, but definitely be interesting to see how much it sort of expands more to going back to what it was pre-COVID.
Well, I mean, Mel, you were at Comic-Con the other weekend, and you said that that's now expanded back into its full.
It definitely got a little bit bigger. So I think it was just after we got back from PAX last year. I think I went to Comic-Con or Supernova. I can't remember which one it was. And it was dead. Like,
it was very small too.
They crammed it. They had plenty of space, but they still crammed everything into just one little sort of area. And then you had this massive area where people were just congregating and sitting down on the floor because there was space. But there were definitely not as many booths, back then. Whereas the Comic-Con that's just been, it was significantly bigger. They used up a lot of space. They actually had food trucks outside in sort of the back area because it was so big. Still a nerdy Sunday market, but it was still cool to go in there and see the different things that people were starting to do. So you had obviously Berserk clothing. You had several different pop stores. There was a couple of like model and collectible shops and stuff as well. They'd even set up a gacha farm for all intents and purposes, so you could just go and waste coins playing gacha machines. And it had definitely grown since last year and since COVID. So things are definitely on the up. And I had a look at the PAX, the people that are attending to PAX, so the exhibitors and whatnot. And just scrolling through the list, it definitely looks like it is bigger than last year.
I feel like the list is a lot longer.
It's definitely not as big as it was in 2019. So 2019 was my first one. And I remember walking in, and one of the first things you walked in and saw was this massive stand with 100 computers lined up, specifically for PUBG. You went around. Yeah. We actually had Wookie entered in the tournament.
Yeah, we were actually, Red Bull invited us to join the tournament. They had it up on like a cinema style seating, so it was showcased across the whole show floor pretty much, and you got it set up on the thing and you played in this PUBG tournament. Yeah, that's right. That was when
that was just there handing out cans of Red Bull. It was fantastic.
That was when you go to a booth or an area, it was like full on decked out with there's a Jeep there, there's a plane that's crashed in front of it. Like they've gone all out, set it up, not just here's a little boxed off area with a couple of computers and consoles. That was when they really went all out setting up the
Yeah, it was like I said, it was like 100 computers just staggered up. And that was incredible to walk into. And then you sort of went behind that and you had Cyberpunk 2077 set up. And they had cosplayers in some ridiculously good costumes just sort of walking around talking to everyone. You could sit down and, view a bit of footage. I think Wookie actually interviewed one of the developers for that year as well.
I think I think it was the creative designer or the creative story guy, whatever his name. I can't remember what his.
Yep. I went and had a look at a panel for the NVIDIA RTX graphics cards just before they sort of released them. So there was so much stuff that looks like it is slowly coming back. Which obviously, so like Nintendo wasn't there last year, for example. They put their name down as going this year. Yeah. Bethesda is obviously going to be there as well. There's so many different places that are going, but they're actually going to be part of PAX. So I think Stace might be going possibly to a Bethesda event on the Friday morning. Maybe. I can't remember if that was confirmed or not.
Yeah, it's a painting, some sort of painting thing. It's
I'm surprised you didn't go to a painting thing.
Oh, mate,
face painting.
I'm too good for it.
Leonardo Subby.
I only do other painting.
But like last year, Bethesda was completely off-site, whereas this year it sounds like they've got something set up actually within.
But from what Subby said last year, Bethesda had a really yes, they were off-site, but the setup was really cool for what they had done where they'd done it.
The setup was really cool. So Stace and I sort of attended a like a pre-PAX event for it.
Yeah, so you guys got in a little bit before. I attended the actual VIP thing, but you guys went and had a look at it prior to PAX even starting.
Yeah. So we went in, we took the cameras through, and we were able to take some photos of and some video of everything that they had set up. Whereas Subby actually went to a proper event.
It was that night, yeah.
But yeah, no, it definitely 100%. It looks like it is going to be bigger and better this year. So assuming that this year goes well, and given how quickly tickets and everything sold out this year as well, it looks like things are going to start coming well and truly back to normal. So still doesn't look like Xbox is going to be there. I remember 2019 Xbox had their own big section. Intel had their big section. I think they had that last year though. I'm pretty sure PlayStation had a big section as well, but
yeah,
I think
pretty much
they
every
sort of
PAX
wanted to
except
do
for
their
the
own
last
thing.
one. Everywhere had their own floor space.
I'll be
Yeah.
interested to see next year if like obviously this year they haven't, but I'll be interested to see if Kick get a try and get a section of it. Seeming Twitch always have a pretty big booth in there. I wonder if Kick's going to try and weasel their way in there. Seeming one of the owners is Australian. But
yeah, look, maybe they do. Maybe they'll have a little bit of space somewhere for some reason. It's just not listed. Who knows?
It could also
'Cause he's in
be
Melbourne,
sort of
yeah,
could also be semi-denied based on the controversy
Yeah.
surrounding Kick's upbringing and everything. So,
but talking about
I'm
companies,
annoyed not going. There's so much D&D this year.
There's a lot. I was just looking through the list now. Funny you mentioned that. Actually, there's a lot of.
Yeah, I'm kind of spewing. I'm kind of annoyed now that I'm not going because I was looking through it. I'm like, there's so much D&D stuff here.
A lot of tabletop. So you would spend a lot of time in the tabletop section. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a live viewing of One for All. They're doing a live game, so that would be cool to see.
just get a small loan and come on down.
Yeah, that's it.
Just use that. Let's say use that Latitude account you're talking about before.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, you only got to get tickets. I mean, there's been so many people selling passes that they've decided not to go, 3-day passes. You could probably easily pick up a 3-day pass.
Yeah, for
and you just
$1,000.
literally crash at someone's hotel because everyone's just crashing somewhere.
Talking about companies there, obviously Asus is one of the companies that's going to be there, which goes into our next topic, handheld gaming. Now, Mel's probably going to talk most in this one because he was, like he said before, actually reviewed the Asus. Is it
ROG Ally?
Yeah, Ally. That's it. Do you think there's going to be more of a, like, obviously we used to have the Game Boys and like one of you was saying playing the Atari. Do you think it's going to be a thing that's becoming more of the future? Like you said, you could go on a plane and play Starfield or whatever you were playing on the plane, Star Citizen. Do you think it's going to be more of a thing coming that you don't necessarily have to come and sit at your computer? You can go and lay in bed or sit on the couch and play a PC game or do whatever you want to do. You're not sort of linked up to, like, back in the day you had like your PlayStation Portable where you had to only play the PlayStation games. Like, you literally can run Windows off it now. Do you think that's going to be more of a thing coming through now?
The way I see it, so handheld gaming has obviously always been a bit of a thing. So, you go back years and you'll have, as we said, the Game Boy, but even, I guess, before that, you had sort of handheld versions of Pac-Man and that sort of thing as well. So, handheld gaming, in my opinion, I don't think it's ever going to go anywhere, and the only thing it's ever going to do is, continue to progress. Like, you just have to look at the Switch, for example. So the Game Boy was an offshot of Nintendo's main system, but obviously it was a lot more basic, couldn't do everything that the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo could do, for example. But it was only a matter of time before things started getting better, and now the Switch itself being effectively Nintendo's only console, and the fact that it can switch between playing on a TV or playing as a handheld, there was always going to be that progression. But then when you start moving into things like the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck, for example, then I guess computers have always gotten smaller and smaller as well. So go back several years ago, I had just a little 8-inch notebook. I think it was running Windows 7, if I'm guessing correctly. It was a long time ago. But everything's getting smaller and smaller in terms of the internal side of things. So realistically, it was only a matter of time before somebody took that little 8-inch computer and jammed everything in behind the screen, stuck a couple of what feel like Xbox controllers on the sides, and go, here you go, here's a handheld gaming console. The only thing that sort of lets them down, at least in my experience, is the battery life. But that's if you're playing something like Starfield. Obviously, that's going to use up a lot more of the battery, so you're not getting as much power as you were on the old Game Boy, for example. But you're getting something that's a lot better than pretty much anything else that's on the market in terms of handhelds.
I suppose at the end of the day, though, well, obviously Asus have just brought this out, and it's amazing looking handheld. But I suppose at the end of the day, the battery is always something they can work on. They can always upgrade the battery. And there's nothing saying, even gaming laptops.
It's like a laptop. Batteries get better and better.
But like even gaming laptops, they don't last forever. You pull the power supply out, and they don't last forever, depending on what game you're playing. Like I think Red was saying he was playing Mortal Kombat the other day on his, and I think he got 2.5 hours or something out of the battery. But then, like you said, it all comes down to what game you're playing. I suppose if you're playing Age of Empires or something like that, you probably wouldn't be as extensively draining on the handheld console, whatever you want to call it. Like you said though, like Valve have got their they've got the Steam Deck. Asus, Subby was saying Lenovo.
There's a couple of other ones.
Lenovo, and I think there was another one.
Something
I did write it down
it's
here.
called, yeah.
Asus, Lenovo, and Qualcomm, which have also made one. Do you all think that it's going to become a thing where now they're going to be competing? More companies will come in and going to be competing to make the best handheld experience.
100%, because I mean, in today everybody is on the move. So everybody's constantly moving. So you're going to get companies like eventually HP Omen, for example, are going to go, hey, let's throw together a handheld. As you said, you've got Lenovo. Everybody's going to want to get in on that market when they see how successful these products are, because they are becoming a lot more affordable as well. Like you can go out and spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on a desktop gaming PC that quite literally sits next to you and does absolutely nothing when you're not there. Or you can spend in terms of the Ally, I think it was about 1,600.
Yeah.
And the fact that
Is it?
after a couple of from the research I did, it's about 1,600.
I thought it was 1,200.
So
yeah, I thought it was 1,200 too.
Oh, maybe I'm overestimating. I thought I saw something that's
It's $12.99.
$12.99. Okay, well there you go. It's even more affordable than I thought.
Holy shit.
So, the fact that I was able to play Starfield as a brand new release after a couple of graphics updates, and yes, okay, the screen's a little bit smaller than what my monitors are. The graphics aren't quite as crisp as what my desktop gaming computer can do, but when you're looking at a screen that's this big, you don't need the really crisp graphics because you're not going to see them.
Is there an option to actually hook it up to a display if you wanted to? Or is there no option?
There is a docking thing.
There's a docking thing you can get for it. There's an actual external GPU that you can plug into it as well, so you can effectively use it as a full-blown desktop computer if you really wanted to.
It's just running Windows 11.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was sort of just thinking then, like, obviously, sort of going back to PAX again, but we all jumped on the plane last year, and the first thing we all did was rip our switches out, and that was our entertainment from the Sunshine Coast down to Melbourne. We all ripped out a Switch because it's convenient. I didn't even sort of think about pulling out my phone and playing. I got plenty of games on my phone. I didn't sort of think about pulling that out and playing games on it because it wasn't the Switch. I can't do what I can do on the Switch.
Well, this is what I was going to bring up was the iPhone 15 came out and it's in the news now. Odd on this. You get one, did you?
Yeah, 15 Max Pro.
Lame.
It is a bit.
Yeah.
We won't judge. No judging. Anyway, COD on that looks like console quality.
Yep.
So, is there really a need to? I don't know. I don't see. I think handheld or on the go stuff is going to keep coming out or evolving, but I don't think it's going to be dedicated hardware for it. It's going to be.
I suppose that you're like, okay, your phone. Well, even Apple Android, you can download all your games and everything from the App Store, but like your Asus, you're literally running Windows.
Yeah,
like
that's the.
If you wanted to, you could type up a review on a plane.
That's the positive thing with those is it is got just Windows operating on it, but Steam Deck's just Steam. But
at the end of the day, though,
you know what? You can do that on your phone, Whippy. You can open up our Office and type up your review. I know it's not Windows.
I do it at work all the time.
Yeah.
Probably don't say that too loudly, or at least cut that out when this goes to air.
It's one of those weird things though. Like yes, we can talk about new companies coming and competing. They're all competing with each other, but they're sort of stuck with what they can do. You can only Windows is Windows at the end of the day. All they're going to be able to do is put better performance running chips or better graphics cards, longer battery life. Then that's what they're going to be competing with. Because at the end of the day, like I said, Windows is Windows. You can't. Oh, our Windows runs faster than their Windows.
I guess the other thing to keep in mind though is like in regards to your mobile phone, most of your mobile phone games rely on having an internet connection, and not all your flights have Wi-Fi on board. At least, not here in Australia. Probably overseas, but not here in Australia. So that's one place where it's good that you can have a handheld device, whether it be a Switch, whether it be, maybe you're kicking it old school and you are running the Atari Lynx, but they don't require internet. And so you can sit there and play games from Steam, for example, that are on your computer in a handheld device.
It will definitely be one of those interesting sort of topics to sort of keep an eye on and see over the possible next couple of months, next couple of years where it goes. But I know there's been numerous whispers, and I don't know how legit any of them are, of Nintendo bringing out another Switch soon. But
well, this is the thing I was going to say. The Switch is meant to the technology is meant to be on par with last gen consoles.
Yeah,
which is fine, but it's always a step behind, isn't it?
Like I saw a photo the other day, and I don't know how legit it is, but I think the new Mortal Kombat on the Switch looked absolutely horrendous.
It's legit.
Well, that's my sort of question with handhelds. Are they always going to be like that sort of one step behind? Because I don't know, Mel, you might be able to test this. When you were playing Starfield, did you ever get a chance to play it for an extended period of time? Did it start overheating because it was working too hard or anything like that, or was it just fine?
No. Well, my experience with the Ally was really, really positive. Aside from the battery life, but again, we've already discussed that.
There wasn't overheating or anything like that, or
I didn't have any overheating issues. They've got a really good cooling system built into them. It's actually got really good speakers built into it as well. I was really surprised at how well this thing performed. Like prior to doing the updates on the graphics drivers, obviously it ran a little bit terrible. But once the graphics drivers were updated and everything, I was running on a fairly consistent 60 frames, and I couldn't hear any fans spooling up. They were nice and quiet. The system itself stayed nice and cool. I legitimately felt like I was holding onto an oversized Xbox controller with a screen in the middle of it.
I think the technology in those things are always fairly up to date. I'm just saying the Switch is always going to be behind a generation. I don't know, it's just cheaper for them to do it that way. It is only a $400 or $500 console though, where these other handhelds are $1,200 plus, so it makes sense that they're behind.
I suppose Nintendo sort of get away with it in a degree because they've got games like Mario and Super Smash Bros. Where they're that more cartoonish feel, and they look great on the console. But when you've got games like Mortal Kombat that look like they've been drawn on paint, it sort of lets the console down a little bit. But I suppose at the end of the day, they're thinking about their own games as well. They're not sort of thinking
boot
about...
up, if you've got it on PC, boot it up in the lowest quality setting, and that's your Switch copy.
Yeah. Talking about games, our last little topic, I'm going to ask everyone, and we'll start with you, Brashy. What's a game that you've played, could be whenever, that you just haven't been able to put down? Started playing it and just kept playing it.
A game you could never put
down. I've always got the games I always come back to. Like, I'll play them and then, but obviously a whole bunch of other games come up, so I'll play them. Like my Final Fantasy 14. I always end up going back to that at some point. Like, I'm off it at the moment because I've got heaps of other games to play. I reckon Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a big one for me. I'm always going to go back to that one. And especially if they start adding in new races and new classes and anything like that. It's going to be insane. Unfortunately, League of Legends. Because that is just
so disappointing.
I hate League of Legends, but I love it. I just love the torture I like to put myself in. But definitely Final Fantasy games, any sort of Final Fantasy games. Like I went and bought, spent the $160 where it was to buy all the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 games. And I started playing all them again. Legend of Dragoon. That old school Legend of Dragoon. Went back and started playing that again. Because they finally brought it back on PlayStation. Because usually you could only buy it on the American PlayStation store.
Yeah.
So, but they brought it out on the European one, so I was able to get it. Yeah, if they do a remake of that, that's gonna be a big one for me. But yeah, so Final Fantasy, really, Resident Evil and Final Fantasy, probably. Always go back to those sort of games.
Awesome. Ash, what about you?
I think just what I've played in the month shows that I don't really stick around with games all too long.
There's been never a game that you just played and you didn't want to put it down.
I can't say that I have, sort of the RPGs and whatnot. Like I'd spend 3 or 4 years playing them, but ultimately I do sort of move away from them. But yeah, I can't think of anything where I'd go, oh, I'd love to play that again. So yeah, can't really sort of give you an answer, unfortunately.
What about you, Sabi?
Look, when I saw this topic in the list, the original Assassin's Creed games were games that I played, I could never stop playing. I remember having to go to work the next day and I was still awake at 3 or 4 in the morning, just trying to play it and collect everything. Not so much the newer ones. I'm hoping Mirage changes my mind on that sort of thing, but original couple of games, I could not put them down. So for me, it's the OG Assassin's Creed.
I thought you were going to say Mortal Kombat.
No, because that's a game. Because that's not a game that I couldn't put down. Like I love playing it, and I'll always keep going back to it. But it's not something I could just sit there and just play and lose hours to it. It's kind of the question. It's just an Assassin's Creed, or even when I really started getting into COD, I couldn't stop playing multiplayer. You're up all night playing COD multiplayer, but Assassin's Creed is I'm looking forward to
Ezio games.
Just the OG first couple of games. I just couldn't stop playing it.
If you're talking about games like that you just couldn't stop playing,
that's what we're talking about.
And that,
yeah.
In that case, it'd be very easy. It'd be OG Doom and Carmageddon for me. Where they're the 2 games that I would just lose hours in, and I'd look up and it'd be the birds would be singing outside the the computer room window.
That's kind of what we're asking. Yeah, it's just what have you played that you just could not ever?
Yeah, original Doom and Carmageddon. Those were the 2 big ones for me.
What about you, Mel?
Oh, I guess it depends what decade we're talking.
Doesn't matter.
So yeah, probably growing up, it was either like Duke Nukem 3D, Redneck Rampage, or Carmageddon. And then I guess in my teen years, it would have been World of Warcraft, and that kind of carried on to my early 20s. and then once GTA Online came out, I wasted a lot of hours in that. And then I guess more recently, Star Citizen.
Okay.
So I haven't played that recently because the last couple of patches have been a bit. But yeah, no. Prior to those patches, same deal. It'd be 4:00 in the morning, the sun would be coming up, and I'd be like, oh, I got to get up for work in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Well, if I was gonna, probably the one I can remember the most was probably, as much as I hate to admit it, RuneScape. I play that on a weekend, and you'd start playing at night time, and then you'd get up and look out the window, and again, birds are chirping, and the sun's coming through, and you're like, oh, okay. Probably more recently though is probably, I won't just say one Diablo game, but the Diablo games. I'll sit down on Diablo, and I like to sit down at 6 o'clock at night, and I'll look up and it's 5 o'clock the next morning. I'm like, oh, okay, that's where time went. I don't know why. They become very competitive to me, and I want to hit the dungeons and get everything I can. So it's probably my two: RuneScape and Doom. Diablo. I was about to say Doom. All right. Well, that's another podcast done and dusted. We will plug one of our affiliates. Just got to quickly look in Discord because I can't remember who.
Jeez, man, they're on your they're on your shirts.
I'm not wearing my MK shirt today.
We are.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad, isn't it?
One of these things is not like the other.
Always one.
We'll I always butcher this. Is it X-Riart? X-Riart?
Yeah, X-Riart, yeah.
If you go into our Discord, you can click on our affiliate section. We have got a code with them. They do some really cool, like, pretty much framed tech breakdown. So you can get like a broken down iPhone or a broken down Game Boy.
Yeah, I like the Game Boy one. They tear down a Game Boy and they like spread the parts out as a art piece.
Single component, like singular components all over the thing. So if you're a bit of a techie person, that's a pretty cool site to have a look at. Like I said, we've got a code if you want a bit of a discount. But that's us for another podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for everyone listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I think on Spotify too now you can actually leave a comment on what you thought of the podcast and what you'd like to see improved or whatever. So make sure you let us know, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.